Hi, I'm Marcel, and welcome to me screaming into the void, mostly about books. And forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. If you're following my channel, you will know that I am doing Criminology's Read What You Own challenge. And the idea there is that you pick a certain number of books from your own shelf and you read them before you buy any new ones. And I am on my way of doing that, and I am enjoying the form of book ban before you read the other books on your shelf, because it has made me, number one, go back and use my library much more than I did before, which has been something I've been missing. Number two, it has made me aware of what I actually have on my bookshelf, which is nice considering that, well, we were two quite large readers who were going to read books together. And it's nice to sort of see what we actually have on our very large bookshelf. And number three, it's made me much more reflective over, well, if I'm going to buy a book, why am I going to buy a book? And then I came at an impasse because I wanted to show you, the good people on the internet who might not live in Oslo, in Norway, where I am currently living, where I've been living for the majority of my life. A lot of you will come to Oslo and want to sort of visit one or two cute bookshops, being luckily that Norway has such a high percentage of English readers and English understanding. Most people in Norway do understand English enough to both read, write, and talk to it quite fluently. So the majority of bookstores that we have will have English books available. And I want to sort of show that we do have sort of quite a variety of bookstores in Norway. Statistically, we have three sort of book chains in Norway. We have Norway, which is the largest books chain we have. We have Ark, which is the second largest, and we have Outland, which is usually you just have one Outland in each town, but which is sort of known for their sort of geek and nerd memorabilia and quite a large book collection. And this doesn't include the chain Academica, which is more geared towards students and selling non-fiction books towards students. But we do also have a variety of bookstores in Oslo. So I wanted to create a video. We went on a bit of a book tour, and I ended up buying a book from each store that was open. Was one wasn't open. And because I wanted to say, okay, this is what they would ended up recommending to me as their sort of favorite book in the store. So before anything else, and please, we'll go back to our absolution at the end, criminally. Follow me now on my day in Oslo, going from bookstore to bookstore to see what we actually have if you want to visit. You'll know, well, which one you should prioritize. Before even going to any bookstores, I want to talk about free libraries. Now, free libraries, for those who don't know, is a concept where you have books available at a certain point where you can come and donate a book and you can take a book. do a form of book swap. Norway has a very interesting way of organizing that, in the sense that we have taken our old phone booths, which no longer have any practical use in Norway because practically everyone uses cell phones. And they have, and a certain number of them in entire Norway has been turned into these free libraries. So if you see one of these free libraries, and I'll link you to a map where you can find these free libraries. Well, if you see a little red phone booth, you know what it actually is. So we started actually this little bookshop tour by visiting 3 of these little phone booths. The first one that I visited was in Aker Brygge, but it's not really on the obvious place in Aker Brygge. So if you are in Aker Brygge, you sort of have to go towards the sort of side of Aker Brygge, where you see the fortress, and you can sort of just look up and look at the fortress way up above them. And here I got the book 100 Years by Herbjørg Wassmo. Herbjørg Wassmo is quite a famous Norwegian author. And this book is about several generations of women and how they sort of live their life and pass on throughout the generations. And that is actually quite a common theme within especially women's literature in Norway, this whole passing on generations, but very often not just mother to daughter, but you should at least have 4 generations there too, for it to be a proper one. The second red phone booth that we visited is on the sort of behind the park where the castle is in Oslo. And there wasn't sort of the biggest selection there, but I did get Tom Clancy's The Teeth of the Tiger. Now, this is one of the things I enjoy with free little libraries. I don't really read a lot Tom Clancy. I've never read sort of one of his books. But when there was so many of his books there, it made me think, well, maybe I should try one just to figure out what is his deal? What's this all about? But next to Litteraturhuset, there was this small, quaint little shop for traveling. And what I discovered within that little shop was that they had a very sweet selection of literature that was supposed to inspire you to travel and think globally. So they had books about places to visit, or how can we think about nature? How can we think about the world? And the first book I therefore bought was this book here, Parenthood Around the World, which are interviews with 40 parents around the world about parenting and about what they sort of think of as important traditions. How do we view education? What is important for us to pass on to the next generations? And you have these pictures from these families. So you have families from Australia and Norway and Mongolia. So when I saw it, I need this book. I absolutely need this book because I am educated within diverse pedagogy and sort of parenting from around the world really is my cup of tea. Moving on, we traveled to Bislett. And before we went to Bislett Bok, which is the bookshop, we found another little red phone booth. And I got the book Dangerous Games by Judith Michael, which is about twins that are suddenly in kind of a scrape. So I don't really know much about it, but it looked interesting because it looked like something that I normally wouldn't read. And that, I think, is one of the fun things with these phone-booth-free libraries. Moving on, we get to Bislett Bok. So Bislett Bok is quite a small bookstore. I asked, and mostly they cater to the locals, also the people living around in Bislett, which is surprising because it's about a 15-minute walk from the city centre. It's still considered in the city centre if you ask local people, but not a lot of tourists end up around Bislett unless they are interested in sort of triathlons and stuff like that because of the Bislett Stadium. But I asked and I got a recommendation for Bislett Bok. And at Bislett Bok, I got the book by Scholastic Muksanga, The Barefoot Woman. Scholastic Muksanga is a female author who fled from Rwanda to France due to everything that happened in Rwanda. And I also got this very cute bookmark in the store. Moving on from Bislett, we took the tram down back into sort of the proper city centre that the tourists will know as the city centre. And here we sort of visited the two probably most known books on this list. Now, the first one is Tronsmo. Tronsmo is an independent bookstore and probably the most known independent bookstore that we have. And they cater to everything that's not really mainstream. They have some mainstream things, but they have bookshelves where authors from around the world, they have a lot of philosophy, history, music. Down a flight of stairs, they have an entire floor just for comics and graphic novels. And their recommendation was the book Brain on Fire by Susanna Callahan. And this book is about a woman who she has a tumor or something going on with her brain. So this is her sort of memoir about this happening. And everything that, of course, that happens when stuff messes with your brain, it sort of messes with your entire interpretation of life. But Tronsmo is absolutely the biggest sort of independent bookstore that we have, probably in entire Norway, not just in Oslo. But moving on from Tronsmo, we went to Norway in Universitetsgata. And this is the biggest bookstore that we have in Norway. here again, you can find pretty much everything that is more mainstream. But this bookstore is also a place where you can, for example, get Norwegian authors translated into English. So if you are interested in Norwegian books and wanting to read them in English, this is something that they offer. And in this bookstore, I got recommended Kyrre Andresen. It's a Norwegian author. And by the way, I think that Carthago should be destroyed. And this I know is a quote from somewhere, but I don't really know what it is from. But this book is about a man who works as an electrician. His back is destroyed, and then he has to start working somewhere else, and he starts teaching Norwegian to immigrants with everything that entails. So it's quite interesting how both Kyrre Andresen and Herbjørg Wassmo both represent very Norwegian books. It's not sort of what people assume is Norwegian, because what Norway is known for is either Ibsen or Scandinavic noir, which we absolutely have. We read a lot of crime. But Kyrre Andresen and Herbjørg Wassmo are good examples of Norwegian literature that isn't quite known worldwide for being Norwegian literature. Moving on, we went probably 5-10 minute walk from Universitetsgata. We ended up at Outland, which, as I stated, was one of the chains that we have in Norway. And this is not just a bookstore. This is sort of all things geeky and nerdy. And you can also have places where you can play games and buy Warhammer and everything that your little geeky and nerdy heart desires. And in Outland, I was recommended It Lasts Forever and Then It's Over by Anne de Marken. This book is about someone who has died and passed on, and everything then happens after they have passed on. So it was kind of dark. All of the books that they were recommending on their sort of shelf with We Recommend were kind of dark this time. You have a lot of uplifting things at Outland as well. It's not just darkness. But yeah, that was what they were recommending at this time. Moving on from Outland, we went down into the huge church. And next to the huge church, you find our next two bookstores. One of them is called Bok og Media, Books and Media. And this is a Christian bookstore. And in this one, I got the book Thomas Mann, Jakobs historier, which is Thomas Mann, who is the Thomas Mann, sort of the one who wrote Budbrock's Death in Venice, all of that good stuff. He also wrote a series of retellings of Joseph from the Bible. And I did not know that Thomas Mann had done this. I did not know that this was a thing. I've read Thomas Mann. I enjoy his writing because he's a known German classic author. So that was fun. There isn't that many English literature in Bok og Media, just so you are aware of it. But because they are have sort of the niche of being a Christian book. So I thought maybe someone would be interesting. Moving on from book and media, we went to El Dorado. So El Dorado used to be a cinema specializing in sort of thrillers and scary films. And they were bought up by Norway, as that I said, sort of the very known books chain. But I wanted to just let you guys know about it because it's such a pretty bookstore. The way they have sort of kept all of the interior, the way sort of the large ceilings and such a beautiful large bookstore. So, and you have these wonderful chairs that you can just sit in for hours reading. And they do have quite a large selection of English literature as well. Most bookstores have some books that are English, but they have quite a large selections, both of classics, of non-fiction, fiction. And at this store, I was recommended The Bees by Lalina Powell. This was shortlisted for Women's Prize for Fiction. And this is a science fiction book or speculative fiction book written from the perspective of a bee. How can you not want to read a book that is written from the perspective of a bee? Wonderful, wonderful book, and just a beautiful store. Then we're moving on to probably one of my new favorite bookstores, which is Cappelens Forslag. Now, in Norwegian, there is a pun here because one of the large publishers is called Cappelen, and publishers in Norwegian is called forlag. And the word forslag means suggestions. So Cappelen Forlag, Cappelens Forslag. So I went in and they have second-hand books, and it's such a quaint little store with a surprisingly varied selections of books. It's sort of, usually you sort of have one niche, but here you can find a lot of, you can't find everything, but you can find something a bit from everything. And I asked them, are you connected to the publishers, Cappelen? And he said, no. His last name is Cappelen, no relations with the publishing firm. And he owned this store with his childhood friend, who is also named Cappelen, again, not connected to the Cappelen family who owns the publishing company. So you sort of have three independent Cappelens, with two of them owning this store together. And in Norway we're a large country. We're not a huge population. We're at this time about 5 million people in total. So it became quite humorous that it was Cappelen, and Cappelen, no relations between any of them. But he, so we asked him, as we did all of them, what would you recommend of the books that you have in the store at the moment? And we got this wonderful, wonderful talk with him, where he sort of explains a lot of the different books. And that is one of the things I love about a store like Cappelens Forslag, because you can go there and talk book with someone who has dedicated his life for books.
Den boka som har vært med meg lengst, det denne Charlotte Bronte. Sin Jane Eyre. Den har jeg ble pakket på I studiene. Men det som jeg likte så veldig godt med den, det var jo at den har jo en slags sånn den har jo et slektskap med en annen bok som skrevet veldig lenge, mye senere, som Wild Sargasso Sea, som jeg nå ikke har inne. Men fordi den lærte meg ganske mye om lesing, om hva du får med deg og ikke får med deg. Spesielt den gotiske skrekromantikken, for der de kvinnelige forfatterne I den perioden der, sånn som Shelley og Bronte og ikke minst Jane Austen, var veldig flinke til å beskrive det uhyggelige litt sånn avstand, ikke sant? Det var ikke så mye sjokkeffekt, det var mer at det gikk noen I gangene og beveget seg ting på kanten av øynene, noe som fungerer veldig bra I litteratur da. Men her fikk jeg ikke med meg noen ting I hele tatt, og det som bevegte seg I øyekanten og sånt. The Mad Woman in the Attic, et hus forbi, og det var liksom, ok, greit, men da det sånn jeg leste den, for den tidligere kona til Rochester, hun jo veldig marginalisert og nesten usynlig I historien nå, ikke sant? Så da, ok, men så tenkte jeg, greit, da må jeg lese den en gang til da. Og så leste jeg den, og så leste jeg Wild Sargasso Sea samtidig. Som handler om The Mad Woman in the Attic, oppveksten hennes og livet I plantasjen I Curaçao eller I Karibien da. Og det var for meg bare sånn stor aha-opplevelse at bøkene snakket til hverandre på med 100 år, hvor det har gått 100 år den her blir så ut. Det synes jeg var veldig bra. Men nå det lenge siden jeg har lest denne. Og jeg leser aldri bøker. The Trees jo han en fantastisk forfatter og skriver også veldig underlige historier, men forverker innenfor slags sjanger. De veldig satiriske, men ikke sånn for å skrive bra satire sånn at det ikke blir for mye, så må du ha litt kjennskap til litteratur, og han en engelsk professor og sånt. The Trees professor I engelsk I USA. The Trees en veldig bra historie om en av de siste jeg leste. Så han her har vi hatt inne I butikken veldig lenge. Det Peel sin favoritt. Dennis Johnson. Han hadde lest Jesus' Son og Train Dreams av Dennis Johnson, men jeg leste denne som novellesamling, og det en av disse bøkene så jeg tok hjem til meg når jeg var besøkte med min mor og min far, og de begynte plutselig å snakke om at de var eldre, og han kompisen som min far hadde vært på skitur med for 3 uker siden, og han var nå død av kreft, ikke sant? Og så denne flyktigheten I livet, og selve det, og så beskriver døden på en troverdig måte, som Dennis Johnston gjør veldig her I hans siste utgivelse før han døde. Den en kostymutgivelse, men det et fullstendig verk. Det ikke noe skrevet på skuff. Og det enkelte historier inni her, hvor du merker den skjønnlitterære kraft, hvor den bare stiger opp på sidene og nesten besetter deg, for det så bra skrevet, og det treffer på så mange punkter. Så det måtte jeg trekke et stort kyst når jeg var ferdig med novellen Triumph Over the Grave. Jeg jo fra Zimbabwe, en kvinnelig forfatter, og I siste boken I en trilogi, det visste jeg ikke. Men den var da, denne kraftige, den beskriver en slags form for hyperkapitalisme som så utrolig vond å lese. Du har så stor sympati, men du har ikke det likevel med hovedpersonen, for hun oppfører seg jo fanget I dette systemet her også. Hun har jo fått penger av landsbyen sin for å utdanne seg, men ikke om å dra I borgerkrig og miste foten, men hun klarer ikke å få det til. Så den var veldig kraftig. Sikkert fordi at det runder av hele den sykehusen da. Så denne her, 10th of December, bare en hele rad med fantastiske kortprosa, små noveller, som jeg vet ikke hvor jeg skal begynne. Den er også underholdende, men den er også vond, men han skriver på en utrolig humoristisk måte. Men det han skildrer kan virke så smertefullt, og så griper han også inn i menneskeskjebner med litt sånn the short people, de som er sånn korttenkte og tenker mye på seg selv og på stand og sånt også. Så denne her også er veldig bra. I denne her så er det vi innenfor et sted hvor skal vi se det bla bla The Semplica Girl Diaries. Utrolig bra. Så hvis jeg ser her
Det er det da.
Det er denne, ja. Denne ble jeg det eneste hvor jeg har blitt litt sånn trist av å være fullført. Men så kom jo han ut i flere da.
Ja.
Og senere så kom denne her, og den har jeg lest en av da.
Ja. Det er så flott.
Ja.
Det skrives det inn i boka der. Altså.
Ja, det må du bare skille.
Kult.
Noe som alle er fylt. Sånn. Tusen takk.
Ja, det er vi som skal takke. Dette var
Ja,
fantastisk.
Ja, veldig hyggelig.
Nei, det var vi mest med pinpots. Det er litt som man kan lage slag. Det er ikke bare spørsmål. And the book that we ended on, so he had a long talk and especially quite interesting reflections on how he is white man 50 plus. And the way, for example, he really enjoyed reading Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte and the Sargassies. That is another book based on, inspired by Jane Eyre, because it took him out of his comfort zone. And he wanted to challenge me to also go outside of my comfort zone. So I am now reading a book by a white middle-aged man, considering I'm not a white middle-aged man. So this is George Saunders, the 10th of December. It's a short story collection. And again, if you are interested in talking literature with someone who is passionate about literature, Copland's forslag is one of these stores where you just find people who are passionate about this. And that is also what happened at our next bookstore. So to do that, you have to go again outside of the city centre. You have to go to Ratkes Gata, which is at Skaus Place. You can just take the tram to Skaus Gates and Skaus Gata, and it's a 5-minute walk from there. And this is from the bookstore Prismatic Pages. Prismatic Pages is a bookstore with just English literature. They have some new books and some second-hand books, but they are very focused on female voices, on queer literature, poetry, all of that good stuff. And the book they recommended was All Fours by Miranda July. I've heard so much about this book. A lot of people are talking quite positively about it. And she said that this book was sort of became Prismatics book. So the store Prismatics books, because they were some of the first people who got in this book by Ranger July. So everyone sort of went there to buy this book because they were the ones who had it in. And people went in and asked for it because they knew that, well, we know that you have this book. So not only a recommendation from someone who worked there, but an actually bookstore book. And lastly, traveling a bit further out of the city center. This is the last store we went to. This is also an independent store. And it's very similar to, in a sense, Bislett Book. So it's a small store. It's a bit, they also have a bit sort of toys, a lot of books for children. Sagene also had a lot of fun puzzles that have sort of a bookstore theme to it. And the recommendation I got there was The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion. And this is, again, a book that I had been recommended for a long time. So I'm glad to have an excuse to buy the book. The Year of Magical Thinking is the book Joan Didion wrote after losing her child and her husband very, very quickly after, one after the other. And what the person who worked at the stores sort of talked about is that she loved this book because the theme of the book is so dark and heavy. But what Joan Didion focuses about is hope. It's about, okay, how can we get out of this sort of dark space that I am now in due to everything bad happening, instead of wallowing in the misery. So that is the all of the books I was recommended on my little books tour. And yeah, if you are going to visit Oslo, please let me know if you visited any of these bookstores, especially the less known ones like Cappelens Forlag, Prismatic, Sagene Bok, Bislett Bok. And then we also have to go back to the theme that we started with, and that is, of course, how can I sort of make amends for this breach of my no book buying ban? That's sort of going to do the Criminally's Read What You Own challenge. Because I still want to finish that. I don't want to buy any more books. I bought this mostly because I wanted to promote the bookstores, not necessarily the books themselves, even though I'm so happy with all of the suggestions that I had. So leave a comment on how I can make amends, especially criminally, if you see this, because I need to make amends for this. And thank you for listening to me screaming into the void.